question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Why, you ask, would people be this over-the-top stupid? Well,
this is the day that the Lord has made, and these are the times which God has decided we shall live. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone all across the world. Thank you for tuning into 3v1A. If you've made it all the way here, drop a like, comment, share, subscribe. Helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps promote your boy all around the world. So check it out. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about the new atheism, skepticism, and anything else. I was having a conversation with an atheist, and they said, I don't like that term. I'm more of an agnostic. Doesn't really matter. Either way, they're not a theist. A theist is somebody who believes in God, some kind of higher power, etc., etc. So I was talking to them and giving them evidence and proof and all these logical reasoning, mathematical, scientific reasoning and proof that we can, get to God, get to a unmover, right? The first unmoved mover, right? The uncaused cause, right? The starting point, right? They started the Big Bang. We ask what happened before the Big Bang. Who caused that to come into being, right? And no matter what you say, what evidence you give, they're going to say, well, I'm just not convinced. Well, the problem isn't us in Christianity and the evidence that there is there for the resurrection of Jesus Christ and all these other proofs and evidence for why our worldview is true. But they set up a methodology that will discount all evidence. It's as if you talk to a flat earther and they say, before we start this conversation, anything you tell me, any evidence you give me that points to the world being spherical, being round, I'm going to discount it. Now prove to me the earth is round. Do you see how stupid that is? How can I prove something to you if you've already made up your mind to deny and denounce every evidence I give you for my position? And this is how it goes, right? Matt Dillahunty, there's a lot of these famous new atheists, very belligerent, and that's going to come up again, but they'll say, I don't believe in your sky daddy, okay? What's your proof? What's your proof?
Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy. Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy.
And then you give them proofs and they say, well, it's not convincing me. But then they deny every proof you can give them. Then you ask them a smarter question. You ask them, what evidence would turn you into a believer? What evidence would make you a Christian? God drawing your name with the stars in the sky.
Is there any kind of evidence in the universe that could make... I mean, if the stars lined up to spell, Peter, please believe in me, it's about time.
I put it down to madness.
Or maybe you hearing and seeing God audibly and visually.
If I was standing, at the foot of a cross and saw the resurrection before my very eyes, I would put it down to hallucination.
Maybe me getting my head cut off right in front of you and coming back the next day and telling you a private conversation that you had with a loved one, and I'll tell you all the information. All these atheists say, nope, I would think I'm hallucinating. Nope, maybe the aliens are playing a trick on me. Nope.
The evidence that would flip me into the belief camp and so on. And I simply can't think of any. I think if I tell myself that if I agreed with some evidence, then it showed that I'd simply gone mad. So it's a serious question, but I don't think there can be any evidence.
Are you saying your position is unfalsifiable in that sense?
Yes.
Maybe I was on drugs. Maybe I was going through a mental state. They'll come up with any excuse to discount whatever they've seen, whatever they believe.
I think at one level, some people might accuse you of being so committed to atheism that you'd never be willing to countenance any evidence that might lend support to a creator behind the universe. I'm just interested, what sort of evidence could science or the physical universe present to you that would make you think, actually, that is evidence that there's a mind behind this?
I find that a very difficult question. If I were looking in the Bible for evidence, heaven forbid, I would expect to see maybe increase in entropy is equal to Q reversible divided by temperature.
If there was literally an equation in the Bible
equation
like
in
that.
the Bible, rather than all this wishy-washy,
Okay.
elastic writing that it pervades.
Right. So if there was something like that they discovered in the Bible,
Then I'd think it was
you'd think
probably a forgery.
Well, exactly. The problem is, would it actually make you?
No.
I mean, is there anything from is there
think-
any kind of evidence in the universe that could make? I mean, if the stars lined up to spell, Peter, please believe in me, it's about time.
I put
you?
it down to madness.
Sounds like, Peter, that there's no evidence that would persuade you away from atheism.
Well, to be honest, I think that's probably the case.
In that sense,
Wow.
do you even have an evidence-based view if you're actually committed to atheism a priori?
Well, I'm predicting that there will be no such evidence. That's not quite the same thing as being committed to it a priori. I can't.
But you've said there's
envisage-
no evidence that would persuade you otherwise.
I think it's much more likely that I would have gone mad than such evidence would have been provided.
So in principle, it's impossible to ever persuade you that God exists.
I didn't quite say that.
I think you just did, sir.
Well, what would persuade you?
I can't conceive of. I suppose even if I died and was confronted with, St. Peter saying, "Welcome to heaven," I'd probably think I was dreaming.
So there's no proving it to them. And then when you ask them, can you prove your position? Well, they don't need to prove their position. They just assume it's true. So then they never have to give an account for why they believe what they believe. Because at the end of the day, an atheist, that's just a moist robot. That's what they believe. They believe like determinism, right? They don't have free will. Because chemicals having a reaction doesn't come to truth. That's not how you find truth. If you want to find truth, you don't mix two chemicals inside of a test tube, mix it and look at it and find truth inside of it. But if they're right and we're just moist robots, then our minds, that's an electrical and chemical reactions all throughout, right? That's what our mind does. Well, they don't believe in a mind, they just believe in a brain. But we, as theists, believe in minds. And it's like shaking two Coke cans and opening them up, and they're both having a chemical reaction, these two cans. That's what it's like for humans to have conversations in their worldview. But they don't act like it. They act as if there's God, but then they cut it off and say it's not God, and then they start thinking. The first step that they have to take, they have to discount it. Because if you're just a moist robot, and your brain came from a brain from a monkey, and that monkey came from a brain of a fish, and back, why should we trust your mind and what it tells us about truth if your mind was never designed to find truth? Your mind was designed to find, colorful fruits on trees, was to find a beautiful woman to procreate. Those were the only necessities your mind, with evolution, was trying to get to. But you act as if that's not actually true. Your mind can figure out the secrets of the universe and how far the sun is and how many millions of years we've been on Earth, and all these things that you shouldn't trust your mind to do, but you do anyways. So you don't have a foundation for what you believe. But then you look at the Christian and you'll tell them, prove it. And then when they give you all the evidence, you can't take any of it because your methodology prevents you from taking it, right? There was a debate that went on last week with Matt Dillahunty and Andrew Wilson. And Matt Dillahunty, if you guys don't know, is this belligerent atheist, part of that new atheist group, really, with Richard Dawkins and the sort. And what he said in the debate, right, they were talking about which one's better, secularism or Christianity, right, to govern a society. And Matt Dillahunty started off, and I'll play the clip. So
he has as its focus adherence to a God and the disposition of souls in an afterlife. Our best efforts in this life are, according to the Bible, like filthy rags. Our best attempts at righteousness and justice are portrayed as vile and disgusting when compared to a bumbling God constantly failing to get his creation to love and respect him, while also prescribing the death penalty for nearly everything: adultery, blasphemy, breaking the Sabbath, disobedient children, witchcraft, worshiping another god, not being a virgin on your wedding night. Which is better for society? Well, I'd say the one that has human society as its focus and isn't so intent on killing humans for not buying into a specific doctrine. Heaven and hell, if they were to exist, aren't human societies. What a god thinks is unknown and irrelevant. There's never been a secular humanist nation, either in a governmental form, which I'm not advocating for, or in a primary philosophical view of the majority of the
Started off by insulting, right? Calling Andrew and his God, he's saying your God's belligerent, your God's this, your God's that, just making fun of it, being belligerent. And it's okay because it's rhetoric, it's a debate, you're allowed to talk however you want to talk. If you want to talk all big and bad and say your God's stupid, how come he did this, how come he didn't do this, blah, 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 you're allowed to do that. But you can't cry when somebody then does that to your position.
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to sit here and dignify the preparation that I went through and what people work here for.
You're so indignant, man.
Keep interrupting me.
I am.
Okay.
You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm
Oh,
saying?
please, Matt.
Hold on one second.
How dare someone have an opposing worldview?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world,
Yes.
with someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that.
I just like.
Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I wrong, Matt?
Someone
You gotta give him a chance.
Someone who misrepresents a quote from a debate where I said I wouldn't make a law about 9-year-olds having sex being legal with respect to the 9-year-olds, not that I was in any way in favor of it and that I was actually opposed to it, which I addressed during that debate. But moreover, this is not remotely an honest interaction on the front of whether or not secular humanism is valuable. Because this, when he presented his position here, has nothing to do with secular humanism. From the get-go, it's all about me. Matt thinks, Matt thinks, Matt thinks. I'm giving what Matt thinks, what Matt thinks, what Matt
Matt's
thinks.
position.
What
It's
Matt
Matt's
thinks.
position.
I
It's Matt's
came in
position.
with the secular humanism
Matt's wrong here. You got to defend your position. This is what a debate is. Don't cry.
manifestos. I came in with positions that aren't
Your
just
positions.
that aren't merely my positions.
Oh, well, as long as multiple people hold the position, it
This
makes it
guy's not
valid.
serious, and I'm leaving. James, if you want to refund, you
Well,
can.
good day, sir. And I'll cover your refund, Mr. Matt.
He just said he'd cover my.
I would
refund.
cover his refund.
Andrew, shut up for a second.
No.
Because Matt, this is a good opportunity, I think, because
Nope.
it's fair to say that Andrew,
Nope.
when he calls someone a lunatic, is bullying. This is a great chance to refute him. And
No, I'm not going to dignify a debate with someone who walked in to trash talk people and be smug and all of the things that he's being right now. He's already said he will cover my expenses. You don't have anything to worry about. This debate is over. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I think this
Jackass.
is a great opportunity to expose.
Did you call me a jackass, Matt? Well, you and your husband have a good day, Matt. Have a wonderful
thanks.
day, Matt.
Thanks. Me and my husband?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Anything else you want to throw out? Rick?
No, that was fine. I mean, if you're going to take a parting shot, I will too, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, my parting shot's correct.
No, your parting
And that's exactly what happened when it was Andrew's turn to debate, and he started going off on him about the lies that he believes and the lies that he propagates, that he's a man of truth and reason and science, but when it comes down to it, 1 + 1 is not 2 in Matt's world.
Gentlemen of all pronouns, the Z's, the Zers, the hims, and hers, I would like to thank you for tuning in today for this exciting in-person conference on modern-day debate. My name is Andrew Wilson. There's a few ways this debate could go. The topic is Christian ethics versus secular humanism, which has a better foundation. The funny thing is, I already won that topic because, as Matt explained to Jay Dyer, he has no justification under the skeptical belief structure to give an accounting for any meta-ethical presupposition he may have. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic, he grants himself reason, he grants himself an entire worldview, even though he's using an unjustified starting position for it. So I'm not honestly all that interested in doing the God not real dough debate because one, it's boring, and two, it's also really boring. It goes like this. I don't see enough evidence and remain unconvinced there's a God. Then I say, but you use the theistic worldview of justification like there is a God to grant yourself logic and everything else. So instead of that, I'm just going to grant Matt's entire worldview. 2/3 or more of this entire planet are all operating inside of a shared delusion that they were created by a sky daddy who loves him some slavery and murderousness. He thinks it's funny to kind of cosmically with people. That's his deal. It's kind of his whole thing. That's Matt's worldview. So now Matt's right, and the question becomes, should we let them to continue to believe in this nonsensical Stone Age madness, or do we stop them from engaging in it? My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical, egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. See, Matt also just acts as though the things he believes are true. He believes, and therefore acts as though logic is real, math is real. Everything is real based on his presuppositional belief that they are real. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false. That preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends. And that Western society and egalitarianism is superior to those evil theist society, even though the Western nations can't even reproduce their own populations, but instead have to replace their population with foreigners from those theist nations that can reproduce. Let's start with a basic societal question recently asked of the West, who has now embraced a scientific and non-theistic approach to governing. Super basic question every kindergartner knows. If you don't believe me, go watch Kindergarten Cop. The question posed to the Western nation is, can a man be a woman? Right? To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Thank you, secular humanists. Thank you so much. Nope, not kidding. Why, you ask, would people be this over-the-top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them. This is human flourishing. Just redefine shit, pretend it's true. How laughably absurd this worldview is. Matt will often say, I remain unconvinced. Well, Matt, I'm also going to use your standard. I need for you to 100% convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt that males can have babies. What's the answer going to be? No, Andrew, you big stupid. Males can't have babies. Men can have babies. Because we just defined man to include females, dummy. Well, Matt, I remain unconvinced. I'd like Matt to convince me that if you are a male and you are having sex with another male, which would not be allowed in my version of a secular humanist worldview, how is it that you're not just basically having sex with a guy with a wig on? I really want to know the answer to that question. Not just me, but all rational people who aren't lunatics also want to know why it's ma'am isn't a complete and total crock of garbage. Because I remain unconvinced that it isn't a total lie, and that these people don't just pervert the language to include their own perversions and then add human flourishing at the end. Matt has said he wouldn't make a law stopping 9-year-olds from having sex with each other. Not kidding. Now, I know this is going to sound a little bit totalitarian, but I would in fact create laws that made it a crime for a 9-year-old to have sex with another 9-year-old. I would hold the parents criminally liable for allowing this to happen in my evil authoritarian society, where I don't even let 9-year-olds have sex or the parents go straight to jail for negligence. Now, I think that's better for human flourishing. I think maybe parents would be far less likely to let their 9-year-olds do that if they went to jail. Stupid me. Next, I would in my authoritarian society decree that all simulated sex acts in public were criminal offenses and would make sure that all people went to prison for the crime of indecency, which doesn't assist with human flourishing, and I'd like to know why I'm wrong. Secular humanism can basically be whatever the hell you want it to be. It doesn't really need the principle of freedom or the starting axiom of freedom and peace in order to postulate whatever it wants. It's sloganeering. They're slogans. They don't mean anything. Okay? Why do 9-year-olds need to be able to have sex in order to advance humanity? Why do we need to lie about a person's sex in order to advance humanity? Why are these things necessary for human flourishing? Why are decency laws bad? Why would Christian ethics stop flourishing when the theist mandate is to reproduce and the secular mandate is let's just all have sex and have fun, bro? That sounds way worse for human flourishing. In fact, I would say not reproducing is a worst possible thing for human flourishing, because if there's no humans, how do you flourish? So I guess, in essence, step 1, I remain unconvinced. Step 2, I need to be convinced, so I'm no longer unconvinced. And step 3, but God not real dough doesn't matter here. I've already granted it to still demonstrate just how stupid this ideology actually is. With that, I'll yield my time.
So we're going to play the clip. Boom. This is movie magic. But at the end of the day, as Christians, we know we have standards. We know there are Christians that are hot and there are Christians that are cold, but both hot and cold are useful in their own right. But the lukewarm Christians, I pray for you guys, that you guys either become hot or cold, because Jesus says he will spit you out of his mouth. And I pray that I'm not in that camp too, and God puts a fire in my heart or makes me cool. But either way, be useful in the kingdom of the Lord. Spread the gospel, spread the good news. And guys, go out in peace. God bless you. Have a nice day.